Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Living to Learn. Thank you so much for those of you who are taking the time out of your busy days, your busy lives to watch my content. I really do appreciate it. I put it out there for you and for anyone else who you think may benefit from it. I hope you're sharing the videos with them. I hope you've subscribed to my channel. If you haven't done that already, please do so. It's a really big way to support me and what I'm doing here. Also, you can donate. You can invest financially in my channel if you'd like to. Not something that you have to do. Those of you that have taken your support that far, I want to say thank you because it really means a lot to me. If you would like to do that, there's 3 opportunities in the description of my videos to do so. Again, not something you have to do. Subscribing to the channel, sharing the videos, commenting, giving me feedback, all those things are important as well. Also in the description of my video are my Instagram and TikTok handle at Live to Learn Coaching. That's where you can see additional content to the YouTube channel. Also, you can reach out to me if you have any suggestions. If you want me to cover a certain subject, if you want to give me some pointers, if you want to give me some feedback, whatever it may be, there's the place to do so. So check out the description of the video if you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok, or if you want to take your support further, invest in my channel financially. Again, you'll find 3 opportunities to do so. Now let's get into today's video, of which I kind of mentioned last week that I wanted to go back down this road, this path of doing these like series, right? I've done a couple of 3-part series the last few months. I got a lot of good feedback about it. A lot of people enjoying what I was putting out there. They felt like it was important. A lot of these things were recommendations and suggestions. So when I tell you to reach out to me and give me a suggestion, let me know if there's something you want to hear me talk about or you want my take on it. I really do take that to heart and I really do utilize it, right? It's very helpful. I want to know what people are interested in so that I can put out content that's going to be directed and targeted for those individuals who are looking for a channel like mine, who are in the future perhaps looking to hire someone like myself for my life coaching services. Last week I talked about some of the things that I bring to the table, part of my coaching philosophy. What is it about me that would draw that would make someone that would draw someone in, right? That would have them look and say, well, I think this is an individual that would be able to help me out in what I'm going through. But I did also mention last week I wanted to get back into making these 3-part series. I think it's nice to have something a little more concrete, a little more put together, a little more organized, like a 3-part series. And really what I'm trying to work on, what I'm getting at here, and again, this is a little bit of behind the scenes for you guys, not necessarily something I don't know the etiquette. I don't know if I should be talking about this or not, but I'm working on bringing more of those things to the forefront. I need to really identify and I really need to pin down for myself what it is that I'm looking to offer other people in my coaching services. And so as a response to that, what I'm working on now is just packaging these videos, this content, and making it more of like, hey, what are people who are looking or possibly looking to hire someone like me? What questions are they asking? What things are they interested in knowing more about? What are some of the topics that they want to hear covered? And perhaps when they hear someone like myself covering these topics or talking about these things, something may click. They may find something in what I'm sharing that's going to lead them to believe that I'm someone that can help them out. And again, that points not only to my uniqueness, my strengths, my giftings, but also that should speak to you as well. We all have something unique that we're bringing to the table. So with that being said, I want to start out another series, and we're going to be talking about something that was sort of an offhand recommendation. And I think that it's something important. I think that it relates to a lot of us. And I'm talking about isolation. I'm talking about not only literally being isolated by yourself, right? No one around, but even that feeling of isolation, even feeling isolated when you're surrounded by other people. Yes, it happens. And there are people walking around every single day that are surrounded by others, but they themselves may feel or may be experiencing isolation by themselves. Now, there's 3 things that can come about. There's 3 things that can be enhanced or even brought forth by isolation, whether literally or figuratively. Loneliness, that's something that can definitely, be brought up. It can be stirred up. It can be triggered from being isolated. Anxiety can definitely be heightened. It can definitely be more enhanced. We start to focus. We start to get that tunnel vision of worry. Or depression. Depression is something that the feeling of isolation or the experience of isolation can really, it can make worse or worse. I don't know, well, not worse, but it can either make it worse or it can actually trigger that, right? It can bring about that depression. Now, of course, I'm not just going to leave you with these three things that are, that come about from being isolated. I want to leave you with a couple of things that we can use to help, kind of defend against this. But I want to talk about this a little bit because I think right now, especially, look at our climate. If you're in the United States, it's an election year. Things are on social media. We're getting a lot of messaging. We're getting a lot of information. You've got people on one side, you've got people on this side, and just there's different opinions about everything. And a lot of these things for a lot of us, because as human beings, we're not intended to be bombarded, right? I don't think our faculties were naturally designed to be bombarded with the amount of information that we are currently receiving every single day. There's some things happening, right? There's a lot of us walking around and we're feeling like we're by ourselves. Or it could be something that you're going through in life. It could be a season. It could be something that's happened. And life happens, right? It happens quickly. And sometimes it happens fast in a negative direction, in a bad direction, in a poor, not what we wanted, not what we were expecting. And so I don't know where you're at with this. I don't know maybe you're not there, maybe you've been there. And for no matter where you're at, I think this is something that's helpful. So what does it mean to be isolated? What can happen, right? So again, loneliness, right? We can really feel alone, even if we're surrounded by people. We can experience sadness. We can experience despair because we're experiencing a feeling of isolation. We're isolated. We find ourselves alone. We find ourselves by ourselves, even if we're not. I remember when I started a brand new job, the day that I had training, my first day of training was my grandfather's first day in the hospital. So I went straight from training at a new job to go see my grandfather in the hospital. 2 brand new experiences the same day. This is the first time I was working for this company, and this is the first time I'd ever seen my grandfather in a hospital bed. He'd always been healthy. He'd never had any issues. I'd never been, hospitalized that I could remember. And here I was going to see him. And shortly after that, a few months later, he passed away. And here I am at this new job. Didn't really know anybody. Didn't really have any, close friends or connections. And nothing on their part. No one was doing anything wrong. It was a great place. It was a great work environment. But it was work, and there I was just going through my day. Nobody knowing what I was experiencing, what I was going through. So I understand that sometimes circumstances, things that happen to us, can put us in a position where we are isolated. This is not just for people who are expecting that or who go through this often, right? I know there's a lot of people who deal with this much more than others, right? We're all built differently. But sometimes we can find ourselves in an area where we are isolated. 2020, we found ourselves in our homes, not going anywhere. Isolation, literally isolated from everywhere else, from everything else. And that loneliness, that feeling of sadness and despair, it can definitely creep up on us. Anxiety can be heightened. We can get a tunnel vision of worry and only see the things that could possibly go wrong or that are just going to be worrying. They're going to keep us up at night. When we feel like it's just us on our own, when we feel like we're on an island, that anxiety can really get heightened. Depression is another thing that is not only increased by sensing or experiencing isolation, but it can actually be brought up. It can be triggered, right? Because we're isolated. We feel like we're alone. It's just us by ourselves. We can start to lack motivation. We can start to feel hopeless. Now, hopelessness is a terrible thing. It's a terrible place to be. But when you feel like there's no other options for you, you can definitely walk down that road. You can walk down that dark road. So loneliness we need to be aware of. We need to be aware of anxiety. We need to be aware of the depression that this experience of isolation can bring on us. And again, this is figuratively or literally. Now, what can we do? Right? What are we supposed to do if we're feeling isolated, if we're sensing this feeling of isolation, like, hey, I'm just alone in my own bubble. No one else knows what I'm going through. No one else knows what's going on, whatever it may be. Okay. Whatever that looks like, however you describe it. The first thing we want to do, and this is going to sound kind of obvious, but you'll never know how difficult it is to do this until you find yourself in that position, is the first thing you want to do is you want to connect with others. Right? So going back to my situation, when I lost my grandfather, I was at my new job. There was no one in there to talk about it with. Not that these people wouldn't have been great, not that there wouldn't have been some sincere people, but we're just coworkers. I'm not going to just start talking about that for no reason. But when I got home, I had my family. I had my friends. I had people that I could talk to. I had people that were reaching out to me. I had people who knew my grandfather, who really admired that man and were making sure I was all right. They were checking on me. And I was staying connected, right, to my social groups, to my circle. And that's what we have to do. To defend against that loneliness, right? To defend against that sadness, that despair, we've got to be able to connect with others. It didn't mean that I wasn't sad. It didn't mean that I didn't miss my grandfather. It just meant that I wasn't by myself and I wasn't going to have to do this by myself. The second thing, right, versus anxiety, which can cause us to just be worried. We can be it can just make our worry heightened, right? Heighten those senses. Instead of, let's engage in some activities. Let's do something, right? I mean, you won't believe what a walk down the block will do for you. I'm talking about something simple. Go outside, go for a walk. Go watch a movie, go to a museum, right? Do something. Like we've got to have some kind of activity to engage in, because what that's going to do, especially in response to anxiety, is it's going to widen up that tunnel vision, right? We're not just going to be focused on the things that we're worried about, that the what ifs, all that angst in us. We're going to be doing something else, and it's going to put our attention elsewhere. It's going to help us, breathe a little bit, take a step back, and see the full picture. Right? Now, depression is very real. I'm not saying depression is something that, we can just snap our fingers and it'll go away. I do believe that there are, there's medical diagnosis that, some people are dealing with this, and it's very real. So what you want to do is you want to practice self-compassion. You want to acknowledge and validate your feelings, right? You don't have to deny that you feel isolated. You don't have to say, well, I'm feeling sorry for myself, and it's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. If you're feeling it, if you're going through it, if you're experiencing it, it is a big deal. It's okay to acknowledge and validate those feelings. Okay? It's okay to say, this is what I'm going through. We've got to be kind to ourselves. This entire process, there needs to be self-compassion. There needs to be self-kindness. There can't be any judgment, especially for us guys, right? Us guys, like we're if as men, society sees men, I would say overall, and I don't want to say it's everyone, but just this general idea of men as just needing to be strong and not talk about things like this, right? Some of that's changing, I think. I know there's a lot more ideas out there and a lot more people understanding the fact that, hey, we're all human beings. No matter what gender you identify as, we're all human beings. We all have emotions. We all have mental capacity. We all experience these things. Okay? So there is no judgment. Leave that judgment alone. Leave that judgment away from yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't say, how did I get myself into this? And why do I always do this? And why am I always finding myself here? That's not going to help. Okay? At this point in time, we need to be compassionate to ourselves. Okay? But we also got to give ourselves a fighting chance. So we got to engage in other activities. Got to put our attention elsewhere. Believe me, it's going to help. I don't know. I don't care if it's a hobby. I don't care if it's if it's exercise, just something that interests you. We've got to engage. We've got to do something. And we've got to connect with others. We have to. We've got to connect with others. Connecting with others, even if it means watching a YouTube video, it's not the connection that I'm hoping for you. But if that's all you got, then so be it. Let this time be connection. Let this time be an opportunity for another human being to tell you, hey, you're not alone. You're not the only one going through it. And you don't have to go through it by yourself. You don't have to experience this isolation truly isolated. Take a step back. Let me help you take a step back and see the bigger picture. That it's actually not what you think it is. Yes, it's bad. Yes, you're feeling it. Yes, you're going through it. But let's take a step back together. Let's do something else. Let's engage in something else. Let this be our connection right here. And remember, no judgment. All right? Don't be hard on yourself. There's no reason for it right now. So if this was for you or someone that you know, I hope that it's been helpful. And again, I appreciate you watching. Have a great day.